PC parts are crazy expensive right now. Like, the cheapest new Nvidia card starts at $300, and that's only the GPU. But what if I told you we could build a full gaming PC for less than $250 that actually plays today's games? Sounds insane, right? Well, I've got every single part laid out on this table, and today we're going to put this budget beast to the ultimate test. Can a $200 build really hang with the big boys, or is it just a pile of junk? Let's find out. Now, to be fair, this build did require me to hunt down secondhand parts on sites like eBay and dig around for the best deals. So it's not exactly something you can copy step for step. Instead, the point is to show that with enough time, effort, and research, you really can put together a custom gaming PC for surprisingly cheap. And with that said, let's dive into the components that make up this $200 budget gaming PC. The first thing I always focus on is the CPU, since it has the biggest impact on performance and also determines what other parts I'll be using in the build. After looking through a bunch of options, I ended up choosing the Intel Xeon E51650V2. And here's the crazy part. I actually found it on eBay for just $7.5. So why this chip? The E5-1650V2 is a 6-core, 12-thread CPU from Intel's Ivy Bridge EP lineup, originally released back in 2013. At the time, it was marketed toward high-end workstations, but today it's incredibly cheap on the used market. What makes it appealing for this project is its strong balance. It runs at a solid 3.5 GHz base clock and can turbo up to 3.9 GHz, offering great per-core performance, while also giving you extra cores and threads for multitasking or heavier workloads. Another big advantage is compatibility. The E5-1650V2 pairs perfectly with affordable Chinese X79 motherboards that often come bundled with RAM, which keeps the overall build cost low. Instead of going after a 12 or 14-core Xeon with weaker gaming IPC, I went for something leaner, faster per core, and still dirt cheap. For just $7.5, this CPU was an absolute steal, and it sets a rock-solid foundation for the rest of this budget gaming PC. Since this CPU draws quite a bit of power, around 130 watts, it also generates a fair amount of heat. To handle that, I'm going with a cooler that uses 4 heat pipes and a 120mm fan. I already had one on hand, so I'll be reusing it for this build, but for fairness, I'll count it as part of the budget at about $15. Next up is the motherboard. I went with an X79 PRO that cost me around $90. Yeah, I know. That sounds a little pricey for such an old platform, but compared to original Intel or Asus X79 boards that can still go for $150 to $200 used, this is actually the cheaper way in. The X79 Pro is basically the gateway for budget Xeon builds. It's not the best deal in the world, but it's the piece that makes my $5 CPU come to life in a modern gaming PC. For memory, I decided to go with a single stick of ECC DDR3, 16 gigabytes running at 1600 megahertz. It only cost me $10, which is a solid deal for this amount of RAM. It's not the fastest by today's standards, but for a budget Xeon build, 16 gigabytes is more than enough to keep things running smoothly. Next up is storage. To save money, I went with a used drive, since they're much cheaper than buying brand new. For this build, I chose a 256 gigabyte NVMe M.2 drive that cost me about $10. The nice thing is that this motherboard actually supports PCIe M.2, so I get much faster read and write speeds compared to a regular SATA SSD. It's not a huge amount of space, but it's plenty for the operating system and a few games. When you're building a budget PC, every component feels like a puzzle, and this time, the hardest piece for me to choose was the graphics card. With a budget of only $30 to $50, the options were pretty limited. Cards like the RX 570 or even the RX 5808 gigabytes offered more VRAM, but most of them had been used heavily for mining. And if you tried to buy a new refurbished card, especially the 2048 SP versions coming out of China, the price would easily climb past $100, way out of budget for this build. So after some searching, I finally landed on the GTX 10603GB, which I picked up for $50 on eBay. It doesn't have as much VRAM as the RX 580, but the 1060 is far less likely to have been beaten up by miners. That means better reliability, stable performance, and when tuned properly, it can still deliver smooth gameplay in most popular titles titles. The total power consumption of all components in this build comes to around 250 watts. As a general rule, your power supply should be about 10 to 20% higher than the system's actual power draw, or at least 1.5 times higher, roughly 150 to 200 extra watts, to ensure stable performance and long-term reliability. It's also worth considering factors like your usage needs and whether the unit has an 80+ certification for better power efficiency. For this build, I decided to go with a 450 watt power supply that's 80+ certified, which I picked up for about $30. So we've just finished picking out all the essential components needed to build a gaming PC. Technically, you could start gaming with just $212, but to complete the setup, I added a used PC case like this one. It already comes with 3 fans, and I got it for around $30. That brings the total to $242 for a fully functional gaming PC. And now comes the most exciting part. Let's see how this budget build actually performs in some real games. In Fortnite, at medium settings, the CPU operated around 80% load, staying cool at just 40 degrees Celsius with a clock speed of 3.5 GHz and power draw of about 75 watts. Meanwhile, the GPU worked more lightly at 52 to 60% utilization, but ran warmer at 61 degrees Celsius, consuming slightly over 70 watts. Despite the modest hardware usage, performance stayed remarkably consistent, holding between 55 and 70 frames per second during both combat and building walls. Overall, the system delivered a smooth, stable experience, proving that even with balanced power consumption, it can handle Fortnite comfortably at medium settings. In CS2 at low settings, performance was impressive, averaging around 80 FPS. After switching to medium, frame rates dropped by half to about 40 FPS, but gameplay still felt smooth with no stuttering or frame drops. At this setting, the CPU operated at 78% load, maintained a cool 36 degrees Celsius, clocked at 3.5 GHz, and drew roughly 65 watts. Similar to Fortnite, the GPU remained under light load, around 25% utilization, with temperatures near 50 degrees Celsius and power consumption of just 30 watts. Overall, despite the lower FPS on medium, the system handled CS2 surprisingly well, offering stable and consistent performance for its age. In this test, the CPU ran at 50 to 60% load, stayed cool at 38 degrees Celsius, clocked at 3.5 GHz, and drew about 68 watts. The GTX 1060 once again proved its efficiency, operating at only 25 to 30% utilization, with temperatures around 45 degrees Celsius, much cooler than in the earlier tests. In terms of gameplay, frame rate stayed consistently around 120 FPS, dropping slightly to 110 during firefights and peaking at 140. Most importantly, there were no frame drops or stutters. Overall, Valorant ran incredibly smooth and stable on this setup, offering a comfortable and responsive gaming experience. PUBG, another shooter title, puts heavy load on the CPU. Even at ultra-low settings, it was surprising to see the processor running at only 70 to 75% utilization, occasionally spiking above 90%. As a result, temperatures rose slightly to 42 degrees Celsius, with a steady 3.5 GHz clock and around 77 watts power draw. The GPU averaged about 44% usage, but peaked over 70% during firefights or in detailed scenes. Frame rate stayed near 70 FPS in combat, and could reach over 100 FPS while moving across open areas. Overall, the E5-1650V2 paired with the GTX 1063GB, still handled PUBG well, offering a stable and enjoyable gaming experience for casual play. The last game we tested was Minecraft, which isn't exactly known for great hardware optimization. At 8 chunks and without shaders, the CPU worked hard at 100% load just to generate the world, giving only about 30 frames per second at first. Once everything settled, frame rates improved to around 50 to 60 FPS and stayed between 40 and 60 when flying over large areas. Even during TNT explosion tests, performance held steady around 40 to 50 FPS without major drops. Of course, we might need a lot more TNT to really push it. When switching to the BSL shader pack, FPS dropped to around 20, still playable for newcomers. Overall, this $250 setup delivers solid performance for its price, capable of running most games smoothly at low to medium settings. However, the aging CPU clearly limits its full potential. Upgrading to a stronger processor would balance the system better, unlock higher frame rates, and make it a far more worthwhile budget build. Thanks for watching, and see you in the next video.